Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Tony Pope, State Farm, TonyPope.com, built by the Barndo Co. Did you catch the end of that clip with Coach Toman? Ashley?
Hey, sorry.
No, did you catch the end of the conversation with Coach Toman?
No, I didn't.
So he is buying stock in the Chastain Woodard children because of your athletic histories.
Well, that's really kind of him. Let's just hope they get, a lot of Robert's genes because, I was very much just a PO. So I don't know how much athleticism I'm going to give to the crew.
Hey, I don't know, man. I 50-50 would be, I think, just fine. If the boy gets Robert's genes, that's fine. But if the girls get yours, I think they'll be more than fine, right?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
How are
According to
you?
Robert, we're going to have all boys. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. And then, you met Riley, and then twin girls came along. I thought, I should have known better,
I know. I've told him from the start, ever since we started dating, and we got to the point where we were talking about those kind of things, and he just was boy, and I was like, man, I don't know if I would talk about it. You might jinx us. We'll see.
Dude, he has totally jinxed himself. Hey, man, it's over. You might be in charge of the baseball program. You will be in charge of nothing in your household the rest of your life. I mean, the dogs are ahead of me around here, but that's fine. How you doing? Big win last night. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. It was a fun one. It's the midweek slate, is always just a little different than the weekends, and so it was good to close out a win on that chapter. And before the game, we kind of recapped our midweeks of the year and talked through kind of the success. We lost to Clemson on the road, obviously, and Coastal back in March here.
Yep.
So we talked about that a little bit, but we talked a lot about the wins on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And, it's hard. Those games you would think it would be like super easy just to like be motivated and show up and like play the game really hard. And I've been really proud of them because they've done that throughout the week. But when you go through the SEC series on the weekends, sometimes those Tuesdays and Wednesdays are a grind. So I was really proud of them. And, Neely didn't start the game off super great early. She missed a couple spots and they scored a few runs. But I felt like the team really stayed in it well. And she got better in the second and the third before we went to Jory. So it was good. I always tell them, I'm like, well, would you rather practice or would you rather, play an exciting game in front of your fans? And, they always choose the game, obviously. So
yeah, well, but yeah, exactly. I mean, practice sucks.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest. The thing is, though, you're not. I mean, you're so right about that. Like it's just like baseball, and you got to remember, or I would say, people who've never played in a midweek game have to remember it. Like when you are South Carolina, or you're a Georgia, or a Florida State, or something like that, and this is not disrespectful. I'm not being disrespectful at all. But when you're playing against, Furman or Kennesaw State, or so, that's a big deal to them. Like they get to take down, especially if you're, I don't know, top 10, top 15 in the country, like y'all are. That's an opportunity for these teams to go out there and say, well, hey, look, we can hang with these cats. And now last night it didn't end well for Furman, but you have to take that into. Sometimes you get ambushed right out of the gate. They punch you in the mouth, and you're like, oh. But your ladies have handled that so well all year.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just kind of a fine line of, the opponent shows up typically with not a lot to lose, like a lot of freedom, to play the game. And then you have to keep your team in a good place to compete hard because they feel like they have something to lose, especially when you're at home. And I don't know, it's just this, it's a dynamic and it's mentally, I think, just really a mature approach to play those games the same way you play on Friday nights and Saturday and Sunday. But that's the goal, is that you play the game the same way every time. So, we talk about those things, especially going into those Tuesdays and Wednesdays games. But I was proud of them. Obviously had a lot of offense. We had a lot of really big moments for a lot of players that don't get in a lot. So, Audrey Wilson had her first career hit. It was a home run, curved over, fair in the left field foul line. It's like the foul pole, which was a really exciting moment for her. Nia McKnight who usually appears in every game for us as a runner, but she hit a double. We thought it was going to go out right off the bat, but it's just really cool to get those people in the game, and then for them to have success in those moments is really special.
Well, y'all have had a lot of success right now, sitting at 37-13 on the season, Ashley. And I don't want to say the S word, but if it happens this weekend against the Tide, you would get to 40 wins in the regular season. Now, Bev did do that back in the 2018 season, but this team has only had 40 wins or more twice in the last 23 years. Now, as Monty once told me with baseball, 40 wins used to be kind of the number in baseball and softball. It's really not anymore because things so much has changed. You look in this league, y'all are 37-13, and you're 11-10 in the league. What you have to go through. I mean, we were talking last week about when you were going to Auburn. I think it was Thursday or Friday. It might have been Friday when Stu was on. I said, if you look at Auburn's record, you think, oh, they're going to head to the Plains and they'll walk through that deal and they'll come home. Maybe look a little bit more into the Tigers at what they've had to go through this season. They're actually really good, and then of course, y'all saw some of that when you were over there. Let's go back to game one, because I know that was frustrating. You probably are like, God damn it, come on, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But so what happened? So in the seventh inning. They delay the game for weather, and it was, how long was it, Ashley? 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half. We were winning 7-2, and we were 0-2. We had an 0-2 count on the first hitter of the bottom of the seventh, and we had lightning. So there was kind of a storm. When we started the game, there was a storm that was kind of far away that was coming in, and we just we're really hoping that we would finish the game by the time that the lightning started coming in, and we did not. So the game was just kind of one of those that went a little bit long. We had some innings that went a little bit longer than usual. And when you're on the road, you're just subject to whatever the home team really schedules and wants to do. So, I wish we had started the game a little earlier. I think if we had been here at home and we weren't on linear TV, we might have pushed the game up a little bit just to make sure we avoided any sort of weather and gave ourselves more of like a 3-hour window. But Auburn didn't decide to do that. And so, of course, we get 0-2, bottom of the seventh of the first hitter, and lightning was essentially what put us off of the field. And then the storm came through, and it got pretty bad. And we were in their indoor, which was down the first base line. They went into their locker room, and it stormed pretty good there for a little bit, hour and a half delay. We came back out with like an 8:50-ish start, first pitch, restart. And, just to put it frank, I mean, the way that we played the bottom of the seventh was really inexcusable. Unfortunately, we kind of learned a lesson that we hadn't learned this year, which was, you have to play 21 outs, especially on the road. Like, I mean, you're at a disadvantage because, the home team gets to hit last. And, I just kind of told him, I was like, it really felt like you guys started the game again and you played 18 outs and thought you'd won the game, which is not the case. I mean, you've seen it before where crazy things happen. 100%. And we debated on whether putting Sam back out. We talked a lot about that, and it was kind of going to be dictated on, kind of her reactivation and her re-warm up. And she looked great. Her speed was really good. Her spots were good. She wanted to finish the game, so we let her finish the game. And, hindsight's always 20/20, but we just played 18 outs and expected to win the game. And unfortunately, that was not the case. We made an error to start the inning, and it felt like a tornado came through, and we had lost the game in 5 minutes. I mean, it was like just crazy and inexcusable to finish the game like that. And unfortunately, Saturday, we didn't play very well at all. We got beat, by their lefty that is pretty much off speed every pitch. That's kind of her thing. It's very tricky. And I think Friday night kind of carried over a little bit into Saturday. And so then the challenge was, I mean, how long are we going to let this affect us? And then Sunday we played really well. So, left Auburn obviously disappointed with really just the bottom of the seventh on Friday. Was just not acceptable on our part.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I'm trying to do a little bit of an educational segment here for our audience. That's what I love how you elaborate on the intricacies of the ball game. I think it helps people understand it a little bit better. What happened on Friday, you'll never see happen in baseball. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't sit for 90 minutes and you throw the guy back on the mound. That doesn't happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's done. So but you can do that in softball. And honestly, you know, she was rolling. I mean,
She
she was
was, yeah.
steamrolling through them. Like there was nothing that would dictate
Mm-hmm.
any or that would indicate that, hey, you know, maybe she's not ready for it, especially if she looks good when she's getting loose there. But I can empathize a little bit with the players, and you were a player, and so
Mm-hmm.
you understand, like, you sit through a 90-minute rain delay, you're up by 5 runs, you get 3 outs to get. It's very easy to shift into going through the motions
Yeah.
mode. Very easy because you feel like, well, they know they're going to lose, right? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
down 5 runs with 3 outs to go. This game's over. Let's just get them and we'll go back home, get something to eat, and get to bed. But you mentioned that your ladies, they learned a hell of a lesson on Friday night. Like sometimes those last three are the hardest to get, and they didn't get
Mm-hmm.
them, and they lost because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird air. I mean, I can count on one hand really how many times I've truly felt the team has gone through the motions this year. You know, we play a long season. I mean, we've been, 5, 6 games a week since the start of February. So,
Right.
I've been really proud of them all year on just their response and just how they've handled themselves so professionally with class, mature, the way that we've won and lost throughout the year. And Friday night, I mean, you can imagine how we left the yard. I mean, we were just absolutely pissed. Everyone was because
Mhm.
they're competitors too. I mean, they literally felt like they got punched in the face essentially and like didn't see it coming. And, they learned a lesson. And as a coach, you always want to protect them from those things, and you try your best to help them and guide them. But sometimes like it happens like that, and it's inexcusable on our part, but it is what it is. And we talked about it Friday night and again pregame on Saturday at the hotel. The team got together on their own. They just were trying to reset, and then I just think it carried over into the way we played Saturday. And then Saturday after the game, we asked ourselves the question of like, how long are we going to let Friday night affect us? And so fortunately for us, it stopped on Sunday and we played really well yesterday and Sunday and yesterday. But yeah, lessons to be learned. And unfortunately, we learned it at Auburn late April. But, it's just a part of our story this year. And you can't hold on to things too long in our game because we've got a lot to play for. We've got a lot to play for this weekend, being tied with Alabama in league play. We don't know what seed we're going to get yet into the SEC tournament. There's so much to be decided this weekend, really top to bottom in the league with everyone playing. And then obviously on the hunt to host a regional and to see where we land with our seeding. So a lot to be excited for over the next couple of weeks, and just making sure that the team stays in a really good place mentally and physically is like the golden ticket. It's like, how can we do that?
Well, you might have had actually some addition by subtraction with that loss. That's a learning moment for your group. They've played the third most quad one games in softball this year. Missouri has played the most, and they've lost most of them. The second most is the team that you play this weekend. So these are all obviously quad one games again, with Alabama coming to town. Now, this Tide team swept Missouri this past weekend. They also, a couple of weeks ago, were able to take the series from Oklahoma down in T-Town, Tuscaloosa. And now
Yeah.
they get to come see y'all play. And for the first time since I can remember, I don't even know if it matters whether I can remember or not. I don't know if this has ever been true in my lifetime, Ashley. I don't think Alabama has ever walked into a series with South Carolina and maybe been viewed, you won't do it, but maybe been viewed by the outside as the underdogs going on the road. What do you know about Alabama? What and then you've got about 10 minutes here, so give it every ounce of everything you've got to pitch to the fans what type of atmosphere that you're going to need to see this weekend at the ballpark.
Yeah. Alabama has been a perennial program in the league for a long time. Patrick Murphy, what he's built there, they've had a ton of success over decades. They've been to the World Series multiple times. And so you're right. Like, I think just with where our program is at right now and what we've done this year and the respect that we've earned from the league and from the country, it definitely will have a different feel than I think it has in the past. And, I think that in the beginning, of in the winter time when it was all the preseason polls, if you had said like, hey, we're rolling into the last weekend of SEC play tied with Alabama in league play, it's going to come down to this weekend what you're seeded for the tournament. We would have believed you, but I think no one else would have, right?
No,
Everyone would have
no.
been like, what? Including all the Alabama fans, and I'm so glad we're here at home this weekend because, we've been really good at home this year. If you look at our record at home, we've been really good at home. And part of that is, just being in our atmosphere. Our fans have been awesome. We've had so many games where it felt like almost every seat was filled. Our scan rates have been up. We've, I think, drawn a lot of interest from the community. And so it's felt, and Alabama's used to playing in a stadium where they have like 5,000 people that are for them. The Rhodes House where they play, it's one of the toughest places to play in college softball. So I think we need to give them a little bit of their own medicine this weekend, because if roles were reversed and we were going to Tuscaloosa to play there, it would be a very different feel for us going into the series, I think. But since we're hosting this weekend, I want our environment to be a factor for them. I want them to come here and be like, man, like we don't ever remember playing at Beckham where, we felt like we had a disadvantage because the crowd is loud and, we love a rowdy crowd. We've gotten it all year. We got it at Arkansas. We got it at LSU. We got it at Oklahoma. And so what we're trying to do here is create an atmosphere at Beckham that people feel when they come in here to play us. And our team feeds off that. It's such a different environment when you feel like, you've got thousands of people behind you every pitch of the series. And I do think the series is going to be really intense. I think it's going to be great softball. It's going to be great weather. It's going to be great softball. Their team is good. They've been hot lately. They've been playing really well the last couple of weeks. And so, I think it's an opportunity to kind of make a statement of, this is who we are now. This is what it's going to be like playing South Carolina at home. It's going to be a factor, for whoever rolls in here this weekend. It's just going to be Alabama. And also just like, as we're, predicted to host a regional, I think it's a little bit of a taste of like what it's going to be like for our regional teams that are going to come in here. If we get the opportunity to host a regional. So, I think as far as the game goes, the Vandegrift, their leadoff lefty, is going to be a key factor for us this weekend as far as like our success. She's been really good for them and really good for them as of late. So I think that she's kind of the table setter for their offense. And I think if we can find a way to do really well against her, execute well, keep her off the base as much as we can, I think that'll be a key factor to how the games go, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But Sam's throwing really well. I think there's been a couple games the past few weeks where I think it's the best I've seen her throw in her career at this point. So it's really good to see when your ace is, kind of climbing in the right direction as you hit postseason. I was really pleased with Jory Hurd's performance in Auburn. I thought that if you kind of just look at what she did on the weekend, her outings, I thought she actually did really well, even though the outcome of the series didn't go our way. I thought her performance was good. And then last night she had a lot of swing and miss stuff. So trying to keep her confidence really high and keep them pitching from like just a really free place, I think is really important this time of the year. And offensively, our offense has been really good all year. Just trying not to grip the steering wheel too tight and put too much pressure on them, but just kind of focusing on stacking good at bats together. The runs will be a byproduct of us having like momentum in innings, scoring multiple runs an inning because we execute action plays. We're in scoring position, we move runners. And then every now and then you get a big hit. And if you're in that situation, those are the innings that essentially win you the game. So, we're pretty healthy right now. Obviously we have some natural aches and pains from it being, April 30th. And we've been playing since February, but overall just really blessed that, our starters are healthy. I think they're really excited about the weekend. And we have senior day on Friday. So just a great opportunity to honor the 7 of those guys. With senior day, it's kind of like, it's always a little bit of emotions for me as the coach of, it's really great to honor those guys, but you also don't want to like put so much emotion into one day that it takes their focus off of getting the game going, because, you do senior presentations right before the game starts and your family comes on the field. So I think for us, it's about once that first pitch is thrown Friday after senior day, that we just really focus on the job. We don't let our emotions really kind of take us out of, the job at hand. But
Yeah.
it's going to be a great weekend. Mm-hmm.
I know coaches have battled with what to do with senior day for years. It's like, like, oh, we really want to honor you, but at the same time, we got to go win.
Right.
In case anybody forgot or maybe didn't know, weekend starts tomorrow. It's a 6 o'clock first pitch, Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. There's nothing competing with this tomorrow night. It's a 6 o'clock first pitch at Beckham. And if you can't be there, of course, you can watch it on the SEC Network Plus. 6 o'clock on Friday. Get there early for senior day. And then noon on Saturday, which is a great time. That's on the SEC Network. Carolina baseball's at 4, so you can double dip and all of that. Tomorrow is the first day of May. Don't tell Carly Shelton that. She's hitting 397 in April. So we want her to think it's April 31st and then the 32nd. Don't let her know that the month is different. She is hammering the softball right now, at least over the last 30. Well, she's been doing it all year, but she's hitting 400 in this month. You mentioned the regionals, Ashley, and I know, you're not going to get ahead of your skis on this. No, I get it. We all get it. I understand that. But I am just beyond fascinated with what they're going to do here, because regardless of what happens this weekend against the Tide, y'all very much so deserve to be a regional host. And I think everybody is under the assumption that you will be. The question is, are you in the top 8? Or what does it take to get there? And you could make an argument for 8 teams in this league, not to mention a couple of teams out west and Florida State and all those type things. I know you haven't talked to your team about it. If you have, it's been minimal. But certainly it really is neat to be able to have these conversations here as the regular season is winding down.
Yeah, I know. We actually talked yesterday in our conversation about just our midweek kind of slate on the year, kind of reflecting on that journey. We just had kind of an overall gratitude conversation of just, keeping good perspective and having such gratitude for each other, the position that we're in. It's just a really cool spot to be. So just grateful for it all. I mean, yeah, we, internally, you have to bid to host postseason. So as internally, we've started the conversation. We've checked all the boxes that we need to. If they do give us a regional site, we're prepared to do that. The team has nothing to do with that, right? That's all internal. So we've planned for it. It'll be really awesome to do it. Especially, this first year. I'm really happy for the girls. I mean, we've got so many great seniors that, deserve to host postseason here and play in front of, the best fans in the country. So really excited about it. Our committee, traditionally, if you kind of track, your 16 and then your 8 seeds the past couple of years, I think some of the things that have been really important that have stood out to the national seeds that they've given the top 8 is how you play the last 10 games. And sometimes it's hard to determine what that threshold is going to be, because it could determine how well we play and how deep we go in the SEC tournament, because that last 10 is a sliding scale, so I think sweeping Kentucky here, if that ends up being a part of our 10, that would be great. Obviously, we internally have to ask ourselves the question, did the series loss at Auburn hurt us? Which it could end up being a difference in us being the 9th or the 10th seed versus the 8, the 7 or the 8, who knows? But last 10 is really important to our committee. And traditionally, if you look at it, also quad 1 wins is also a really big characteristic of, the national seeds. So, and we have a lot of those. And honestly, there's more on the table to grab for us. Playing Alabama this weekend, we've got a couple teams that we beat that are right on the edge of 25, like a 26, 27 that could slide up and make that number bigger for us. So I think still so much to be determined for Selection Sunday. We are going to have a selection show. We're trying to finalize those details. It will be open to the public. We'd love to have anybody there that, is just interested in the show and, being around the team when we find out, what we're going to do and where we're going to go and what seed we're going to be. So we'll get those details out on social when that happens. But we've got a lot left to play that will determine, I think, what happens on Selection Sunday. So just still working day to day, as hard as it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at your metrics. I mentioned the 33 quad ones. Y'all won 20 of those, which is second most in the country right now behind the Florida Gators. You just so happen to be playing Oklahoma this weekend. So go Sooners. Oklahoma's getting one. We know that. Florida's RPI is incredible, but quite frankly, South Carolina and the Gators kind of mirror each other when you look at all the stuff, and y'all don't play them unless you see them in the tournament. So they need to lose. They need to lose all 3 games this weekend against the Sooners, if you ask me. But there's a lot. So we'll be paying attention to all those things. And if anybody's trying to figure out what the seeding is going to be for the SEC tournament, good luck. It's a jumbled mess right now.
Let's talk on Sunday. I guess we should, once it's said and done.
I'll text you Sunday and figure out what so we can get that information out. All right, Ashley, 6:00 tomorrow night, Alabama comes to town. It's the final series of the regular season for your top 10 South Carolina Gamecocks. They have had an incredible year at 37-13, and they need the place to be packed for all 3 games this weekend. And really can't wait to watch it. You're the best. Thank you so much. I know we were texting late last night trying to kind of get all this. You're just awesome. You communicate. You're good to people. It's very much appreciated, not just by me, but by all the people that watch and listen to this. This is great stuff. Thanks for everything that you do.
Well, we really appreciate it. I was up really late last night anyways, as I traditionally am. Robert and them beat Campbell last night, so I was, watching their game as soon as our game got over. They won 6-5. So in our household, we're usually up all hours. It's not a problem.
Hey, well, Toman brought it up. What's going? I haven't checked in it's probably been 2 weeks now with Charlotte. Are they still second in the league?
They're third right now. So they were tied third with FAU this past week, and we won that series at home. So they got third outright. They're behind UTSA and USF, who play each other this weekend. Okay. Robert is at Rice this weekend. So they're at Rice, and the top 2 play each other. So still a lot to be done in the American baseball world. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, go get them. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Cooper Holbrook plays on Rice's baseball team.
Yep.
Parker Bangs is their pitching coach. And DC Arendis, who played for Holbrook at South Carolina, he's their bench coach. So there's a couple Gamecocks down there.
A lot of connection. Yeah,
no doubt. All right, Coach. Hey, thank you. We'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. There you go. Ashley Chastain Woodard.